Hello, Professor. So happy that you'll be joining us in this monthly forecast reading. I will be using the Mystical Cats Tarot. Do you approve of that choice? Hey guys, welcome to your November monthly forecast reading. This is Kim, and today I'll be using the Mystical Cats Tarot by Linnea Weatherstone and the artist by Mickey Mueller. And for the last card, which is the message and advice from Spirit, God, Universe, Higher Self card, I'm going to be using the Enchanted map again because it's honestly one of my favorite oracles ever. I think the next month I might be using the Kuan Yin Oracle. But yeah, this month I decided to use this oracle again because it's so insightful. So, in the middle, you will see a dolphin totem animal. And I decided to put a dolphin there because I realized that the in the creative community, I noticed that a lot of you are probably writers and you're probably doing National Writing Month, or maybe you'll be embarking on a lot of different creative projects. So I thought I would put a dolphin there. The dolphin reminds us to be playful, to connect with our emotions intelligently, and to sort of appreciate the and participate in the community that's around us. So, but the most important thing here, I feel like it's being playful and kind of viewing life with a sense of humor, laugh it off, de-stress, just have a good time. And then on the left side, you have a green aventurine. It's a good distressing stone. I feel like it's November and, lots of stress piling up, the holiday shopping, the year coming to an end. A lot of things are coming to a conclusion. So I imagine they'll probably be very hectic for most of you, and me too. So I decided to put it there. And then on the right side, you have citron, and it's got lots of creative energy. It's a great creative stone, and I decided to put it there. And on these two stones, just gorgeous. I really love the sort of the milky, cloudy coloration of these two stones, and that's one of the reasons why I purchased them in the first place. It's super, super attractive. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. I'm gonna be doing this reading a little bit differently because my camera angle is kind of awkward. I'm still sort of trying to figure out a good way to position it because I don't really have a camera stand. I have a little cell phone stand, but that's about it. So I'm gonna shuffle on screen and I'm going to lay all the cards, and I'm gonna probably zoom out and just have an overview of all the cards and of the spread as a whole, and I'm probably gonna just do individual cards because it's much easier to sort of manage and you'll get to see all the images. So that's good. And yeah, so this is the November forecast reading, and just FYI, I don't read reversals. I'm just putting that out there. Alright, let's take a look at the cards as a whole. As you can see, it's very catty. It's a cat deck. And my cat was in here earlier. I was hoping to rub off of his amazing feline energy, but he left. Let's see. So I like the overarching theme cards, the lovers. So I think that's just a really exciting card saying that the upcoming month is probably a good month to connect, deeper with the different aspects of ourselves, trying to reconcile with different aspects of ourselves, maybe unearthing some of the potential or hidden strengths that we didn't know we have. Three of Fires there, so looking forward to the future, so that's good positive momentum right there. And then we got the Fire Kitten, and also the Seven of Sea. So maybe lots of dreaming, lots of daydreaming, projecting to the future, trying to maybe learn aspects of ourselves and also learn what we want to achieve through daydreaming, kind of by examining our desires, by examining the things that we want to manifest, or maybe metaphorically, because daydreams are often a reflection or symbolic reflection of what we really want in real life. For example, when I was in high school, because I was a really shy girl, so I would often daydream about being pursued by a lot of guys. But that was because, I didn't really have a lot of guy friends, so I kind of craved that sort of male companionship or just, friendship or social relationships with guys. So that was kind of being projected into my daydreams. So so this month would probably be a good time to look at your daydreams and see what's in there, and maybe there would be some insightful messages from your higher self or just from your subconscious. So it might be a good place to look into if you're confused about what you want to achieve in life, or or what you want to achieve for the future. Okay, let's look at the cards surrounding it. There's the Sky King, there's the Sea Kitten, lots of court cards in here. So that tells me that in the upcoming month, we probably will be expected to step into a lot of roles for ourselves. Maybe putting up a certain kind of persona, not necessarily in the really ungenuine way or inauthentic way. I think it's just maybe we'll be branching out, whether it's work or relationships, and we might find ourselves in positions where we have to tap into the different aspects of ourselves and put on play into different roles and kind of display our strength or our personalities in different ways. Okay, and then on the right side, we got some intense cards. Seven of Sky and Seven of Fire. So that number seven tells me that this is probably going to be a curious month, probably going to be branching out of our comfort zone for a bit, but that'll be coming from a place of knowing and maturity. This will be, it's not going to be a surprise. Let me just say, like the changes that are upcoming are the ones you have chosen or subconsciously chosen, are subconsciously welcoming into your life. Yeah, we actually got three sevens in the spread, so that's pretty amazing. So seven's a lucky number, so I think there's gonna be a lot of luck coming in. I can definitely see this in my own life already. So I think it's gonna be a really awesome month for all of us. So I think that's just really great. Okay, so I think let's take a look at the individual cards. Alright, so the first card, which represents the overarching theme of November, is the Lovers. And it's just such a sweet card. It's two kitties cuddling and they're just in perfect harmony, and then they're just cooperating, they're enjoying each other's company really well. So I think as I was saying earlier, this is probably a month that's where we would be unearthing a lot of aspects of ourselves, maybe things that we didn't know about ourselves, or things that we were maybe a little bit uncomfortable about ourselves, or things that we've been thinking about. I think those things are really going to come to visible range, shall we say. And you're really going to have an opportunity to look at those aspects of yourself and choose what to put together, kind of choose what to kind of throw into the pot of alchemy and just kind of like to create this new identity or new sense of self that we want. And I think it's going to be a sweet thing. It's going to be coming from a self-compassionate place. It's coming from a place of self-acceptance. I think balance is really a key word here, that you're going to maybe sort of configure a lot of the chaotic energies inside your psyche, or sort of the different aspects of yourself, and everything's going to come together in a really nice way. You're going to realize, so I've always been this kind of person, and I didn't know I had that strength, or I didn't know I had that in me, or I guess I've always known that it was in me, but I just didn't realize it. And now that I realized it, it makes so much sense. So I think there's like a lot of alignment that's going to happen in this month, a lot of coming together, a lot of like, maybe realizations about, so this is what it's always been, and I'm so glad I made this decision, kind of thing. All right, and our strength card is represented by the Three of Fire. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck, and it just got so much forward positive energy. And the power up card or the strength card for this month is a good way to empower yourself is to look towards the future. And I think in the way that excites you. So you're looking at the future, you're looking at the things that are going to happen, you're looking at the things that excite you. You're getting yourself psyched up for the future, that's what I'm saying. And I think that's one way for showing up yourself this month is maybe when you're, insecure about something, or maybe you're worried about, is this who I am? Or worried about defending your opinion, defending your position, or you're worried about maybe being inauthentic because maybe you feel like there will be chances where you're like, maybe you don't want to be fake about strategizing when it comes to manifesting your desires. Maybe you don't want to come across as crafty or tricky or not authentic, that kind of thing. So I think it's a good time to connect with your own desires and think about what you want and the person that you want to become. So I think what I mean is like when you think about the future, when you think about the bigger picture, I feel like a lot of the fears and insecurities that we have about should I do this, should I not do it, would sort of fade away because you would realize a lot of the things that you fear would be not authentic or would be petty or would be maybe put you in a situation where you're prone to judgment or scrutiny or objectification even. I think those are fears that are sort of coming from within us. That's reflecting sort of like a deeper insecurity that's inside of us. I think it's a fear that we're afraid to be ourselves. We're afraid to become a bigger version of ourselves. So that's why there's these tiny voices are at the back of our head saying that you can't do it. Oh, people are going to judge you for it, or you're being inauthentic. You're stepping out of your comfort zone. So I think it's natural to have these insecurities, but at the same time, you just need to tell yourself that if you really want to achieve what you want to achieve, if you want to become the person that you're meant to become, you have to push these voices aside and think about the future. Think about the vision. Get excited about the fact that you're actually going to be even more authentic once you overcome these insecurities or fears or fear of judgment, and you're going to be the person you've always wanted to be. Not that you're not the person you're on right now, because you are everything that you are, but you're going to become an even better version of yourself, a more realized version, like an even bigger expanded version of yourself, right? um, you know your name 2.0, maybe 3.0, because you're always evolving, but you get what I mean. It's, think about that. Think about that. You're always evolving, you're always becoming, and those fears would just kind of fade away. All right, number three, here's your challenge card. So, upcoming challenges that require feats of courage. So, something that might challenge you this month is represented by the Fire Kitten. So, I think that's taps into the theme of curiosity for this month. I think because you're maybe being very experimental, you're stepping out of your comfort zone. You're really trying to accomplish a lot of things in the upcoming month. So I think it's important to know that you need to kind of conserve your energy and only dedicate your attention and effort and energy to the things that really matter. And also be careful of overly like dedicating your attention to one thing for too long. So I think going back to the Lover's card, it's all about balance. And as you can see on this card, the cat is sort of like overly kind of absorbed by that candle flame, and at the same time, he could be really calculating. So the challenge for this month is probably distinguishing what matters and what doesn't, kind of figuring out like, should you actually be worrying about this? Should you be worrying about that instead? This kind of aligns with what I was talking about. When I was talking about a power card, which is about like you know looking at the big picture. So I think you just need to figure out like, so an obvious comment would be like, oh, you need to figure out what your priorities are. But I think what this card is really saying is like, I think oftentimes we will have an idea, we will be overly entranced by the idea. And I think what this card is getting at is one, when we're really entranced by the idea, we get stuck in that stage of wanting to be entranced, wanting to feel this inspired, wanting to feel creative. So that's one of the creative rushes that we get as creative people. When we embark on a project, when we're just concepting, when we're just brainstorming, the energies and the ideas that are coming in are really exciting. They're intoxicating in a way. So we might get stuck in that stage and we don't move on, or we feel frustrated that we can't move on. So I think that's the danger of this month, is welcoming that energy in, kind of having an overflow of the energy, but not sure like where to direct that energy, or we would be kind of addicted to that. So as a result, we would be sort of caught up with, come up with as many projects as possible, and then getting excited about all these projects that we're gonna do, but never actually sitting down and just planning for them and figuring out how to realize them, and then goal setting and that kind of thing. So I feel like that's the challenge for this month. All right, so the lesson of this month is seven, represented by the seven of C, which is seven of cups. So I was saying something about daydreaming earlier, and I think the lesson for this month is, while we could learn a lot of things from our daydreams, from our desires and from our fancies, I think those things reveal a lot about us. So I think it's good to sort of dedicate some time at examining them and sort of journaling about them, exploring them in great detail. But at the same time, if you're always exploring, if you're kind of stuck in a perpetual journaling reflective stage, and if you never go out and actually test out your theories or test out your conclusions about yourself, those things are just theory. Those are just hypotheses about your hypothesis about yourself or about your reality. So those things have to be productively and actively integrated. So you actually have to go out there and you know maybe bring in some earth energy to sort of like balance that water energy. So going back to lovers, which is about balance, I think it's about, on one hand, you have to daydream, you have to dream as wildly as you can, dream big. But at the same time, kind of break down that big dream into chunks. Like, what are some of the achievable things that can happen right now? Because a big dream, that quote, as above, so below, for me, it's like, when it's as above, so below takes a much longer time to sort of become parallel to that upper or inner reality. So I think when we have that big dream, everything seems perfect, but we just need to come back to reality, not in the cynical way, but in the way that we need to, we're kind of responsible for making that dream happen in real time. And being, we're physical beings, so we need to know how this world works, how this physical universe operates, and it's our job to realize that vision, to bring it to life, to bring it into the earth, practical, physical realm. And we can do that by, being productive and planning and breaking the big project into smaller steps and accomplishing them every day and just being dedicated. So, yeah, that's a lesson for this month. So, when it comes to prosperity or finance, matters where abundance is concerned, it could be material wealth, could be money, could be your sense of ownership and currency. I think for this month, we got Sky Kitten, which is Page of Swords. So when I see this image, I kind of get this sort of like chasing a carrot on the stick feeling. I feel like there's things we want to achieve, like maybe there's like a set amount of money that you're trying to make, or like a specific number of income that you're trying to bring in, and you're trying hard to sort of work towards that goal by through the means that through methods that work. But at the same time, it's always like just a little bit out of reach. So it could be that you're expecting a bit too much. You're going to be sort of placing too many expectations on yourself, maybe too many responsibilities that you're trying to shoulder. But at the same time, you're sort of suspended in midair. You're just in this perpetual state of leaping. You're sort of searching for an ideal. There's this ideal picture of like how much money you're making, or like the kind of place that you live in, or the kind of things that you want to buy. There's this sort of image in your head that's kind of pushing you forward. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's good to be clear about what you want to do with the money that you earn. But at the same time, I think it suspends you in midair, because it might make you feel like you're not moving forward. You're just sort of moving for the sake of moving. You're moving for the sake of maybe you just kind of lost touch with what abundance really means to you. Maybe you're just really motivated by, I'm just going to hit that number. I'm just going to hit that number. And I think that's sort of intellectual pattern for the upcoming month. And I think this just reminds me of like balance, and also knowing what to invest in, and then kind of just looking at the big picture. right? So I think Page of Swords, for me, or the Sky Kitten. Page of Swords, they're always really sharp, they're really smart, and they're really opinionated. So I think like in the upcoming month, it's good to maybe remind yourself that don't be too defensive when it comes to maybe receiving advice. Because maybe in many ways that you're still a novice when it comes to maybe managing money, financial aspects of things. I think there might be things where I think you learned to a good degree. You've accumulated some knowledge about that area, but there's probably more to it. There's more, there's next level, there's level two, that more things that you can learn that will help your practice, that will help your income, to, get yourself to the next level. So I think it's good to keep an open mind, and it's good to know what you want, but at the same time, try to gather as much knowledge as you can, accept other people's advice, but be discerning about those advice. Like, take everything in, but you get to pick and choose, right? I mean, that's the fun part about being open, is you get to have a bit of everything, but you get to choose what works for you. So that also is in line with the experimental spirit of this month, the spirit of the seven. So I think it's good that you're venturing out and or we're, since I'm included in this reading, we're venturing out, we're trying to figure out what's best for us, and we're trying to build on what we already know. So I think it's a good card. It's a good learning card. All right, bam, career and work. We got the Sky King here, and then he's just one handsome, gorgeous kitty. So Sky King, FYI, he is the King of Swords, so the master strategist, master thinker, master I was gonna say master logic master. Oh god, lack of vocab. But yeah, Sky King for career and work, where passion meets service and the world. So this could be about like, interactions, the dynamics in your work environment, or things that have to do with being productive, or just things that has to do with your own passionate pursuits. So I think when it comes to the Sky King, he's just casting you this like cold, knowing glare. I think it's saying that, I think one, don't overthink things, don't overplan, just go ahead and experiment. And I think Sky King is kind of saying like, don't come to me unless you know exactly what you're gonna ask. So I think that's saying that every time you plan, every time you try to strategize, every time you're trying to, maybe when you're talking about like, maybe when you're thinking of like, what's the best way to organize your career in the way that works for you and works for others. What's the best way to communicate? Maybe you're asking for promotion, or maybe you're asking for, when you're trying to communicate with your coworkers or something. Like, a good thing to ask is, before you say anything, before you try to plan anything, before you think about all the details and whatnot, before you really get into it mentally, it's good to ask, what is the focus here? Like, what do you really want to focus on? Like, what are you really trying to achieve here? And then that will make your thinking process more efficient. And it's kind of like writing an essay, right? Before you actually write the essay, you are trying to, you want to do some brainstorming, and then you want to do some outlining and come with your thesis. So I think Sky King is telling you, similar things. Before you actually start this whole mental exercise, start to have. Okay, so my phone stopped recording because it reached the maximum file size, but just to sum up what I was saying before, before you start all your mental exercises, before before any real actual planning, make sure you have a focus, make sure you have a definite focus, and know where you want to go before actually getting in there. Relationship and social. We got Seven of Fire. So one thing is like, it's almost saying like, for the upcoming month, you're trying to be a hermit, or you're trying to be a loner a little bit. I think it's because you're probably going to be working on your own projects. You're going to be sorting out your own things. So you really need a lot of space. And I think some people aren't really understanding of that, or they might just come at you and be like, "Oh, Kim, I thought we were friends," or, "I thought we were friends. I wanted to coming out," or there might be questioning you, or they might be just disagreeing with you. So I think there's a lot of that like output coming in when you really just want to be in your own zone and really just think things through and kind of just work independently without disturbance or without being bothered. So I think there's a lot of things that are going to be demanding your attention this month. And I think those things or people are maybe the things that you want to take care of too, but it's just like there's so many things you can really do one thing at a time. And sometimes people might not be really understanding, they might be really critical of that. And, I think you can either just take it as like, this is a chance for you to tap into your inner reserves and just tap into your inner strength and know that it might be really difficult, but you have the ability to see everything through. Like, you may think that you can't do everything at once. It's true, you can't do everything at once, but there will be a way for you to create a win-win situation. And you can create a win-win situation based on what you can do at a given moment. You can sort of and based on what you're able to prioritize, based on you can plan around things, you can try to do everything but not at once. I feel you can try to section your timeline and just try to make it work linearly, because as we know we kind of have to do things linearly, but when you approach the things that are demanding your attention, except when especially when it comes to relationships, when it comes to people demanding your attention, people asking for your time or for your energy, I think it's good to draw boundaries and tell them that, okay, you got to be working on your own thing right now, but it doesn't mean that you don't care. It doesn't mean that you never get to them, get to the things they're asking you to do, but just let them know that you will do them, but maybe at a different time or a different day, and you're gonna do it in your own way, but it's gonna get done. And, but, nobody gets to make you feel inferior or make you feel like you owe them everything or you owe them all the time in the world. So nobody gets to do that to you. You get to decide, and you get to choose what's important, and you get to choose what you want to participate in, and when you want to. And yeah, so it's like there are probably going to be a lot of things demanding your attention this month, but know that you can do it. You can accomplish everything that you want. You just have to be very disciplined, and you also have to just be very clear about how you're going to do everything and communicate that to the people around you. Alright, so last card before we get to the oracle reading. This card is representing your spirit or spirituality. So this is a card that taps into the relationship with spirit or God, universe, depending on how you what your spiritual terms are, and it has to do with faith and openness and intuition, synchronicity, energy, that kind of thing. So Seven of Sky. I almost feel like it's gonna be like a super busy month, and you just like have to find time to meditate. Like you have to squeeze in a little bit of something. Like you have to sort of find time for your spiritual practice amidst the chaos. It's almost like you have to be sneaky about it. It's like you have to find windows for those practices, and I think it could be good or bad. I think it could be bad when you don't prioritize self care, when you're not taking care of yourself, because I think taking care of yourself is a way of being spiritual. And I think it's probably very stressful when you feel like you want to be spiritual, you want to keep up with a healthy spiritual practice, but you have to like kind of work around your other things. Like you have to find a window to maybe meditate or exercise or say a prayer or a journal or something. And I think that could be very stressful and disorienting, especially when maybe you have a spiritual routine that you always have, but it's kind of been disturbed, or you're not really keeping up with it because you're worried about all these other things. So I think it could be bad when you don't really know what to do, or when you don't really know how to deal with this sort of pattern change. Well, on the bright side, I think the good thing about it is I think we all get busy once in a while, or for some of us, we are perpetually busy. But I think it's a good sort of opportunity for you to look at, like, sometimes your routines are going to get disturbed. Like, if I think for most of us, we cannot live like a robot. We can't live like a robot. We can't just keep up with the routines 24/7, 7 days a week, 30 days a month, and for an entire year. Like, I think only a few of us will have that kind of track record. And if you do, then that's awesome. But I think for most of us laymen or fellow human beings, I think there are going to be times where life happens, things happen, things are going to sort of fall off routine for a bit. And I think it's a good opportunity to sort of have a way deal. It's like emergency mode or like chaos mode or something. It's like just like a different mode of being. Like you can sort of look into how you're still, how you can still be spiritual in a moment of crisis or in a moment of when your patterns fall out of place or when your routines get disturbed. I think it's a good time to think about like, if a pattern, if you're when your pattern gets disturbed, when you can't really follow your routines, what's a routine you can fall back on? Like the routine, like it's like an anti-routine, if that makes sense. It's like, okay, so maybe you can work out every single morning, but how can you still keep up with your exercising regime, or how can routine? How can you keep up with your exercising? How can you keep up with your meditating? So on the bright side, it might just be good to push yourself to find those windows and to push yourself to make time for the things that if you feel like that you care about. You have to maybe you really have to use your brain on this one. You really have to kind of pre-plan about everything. You have to plan how you can sort of keep up with your routine like within the chaos. So I think that's a fun challenge. It could be a bit stressful, but I think once you develop this sort of pattern in future moments, this is going to help you a lot, help you realize that how much strength you've always had. It'll also give you a sense of like how you can sort of better manage a situation like this. So I think all in all, it's good. Okay, so last but not least, we got our message and advice from the Spirit, God, Universe, Higher Self card. So, and I'm using Enchanted Map Oracle by Colette Baron Reed, and the card I got is the Peaks of Joy. And I think that's just an amazing card. I think the first thing that came to my head was it's a month where you're expected to rise. And rise not in the sense of like, actually, I think exactly in the sense like you've become this awesome thing. Like you've come so far, you have come so much further than you anticipated. You've uncovered so much strength in you. You've learned so much. You have achieved so much, like through those experiments or endeavors and, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. It may seem stressful at a time. It seemed like you were under a lot of pressure. It may seem like you don't want to do it anymore. But I think deep down inside, or just at the end of the tunnel kind of thing, there's going to be little things or sort of moments where you feel like this is absolutely worth it. This is your life. This is your life. Like, you know what I mean? It's like life is just so unpredictable sometimes, and there's just so many things that could happen, and then so many things that you don't feel will happen. But I think as you go through those ups and downs, as you're like sort of meandering through, as you are sort of passing through the waves of life, and you have to find your internal peaks of joy. Like that place exists, and that place exists for you to find and for you to inhabit, for you to really go there and rise. So I think in conjunction with like all the cards that we talked about, and then going back to the lovers, especially since it's the first card and it's also the overarching theme card, I think the peaks of joy, it's not above and beyond, it's not like underground in the secret cave, or it's not out there, it's within us. That place where we feel like we're on top of the world, that is a place of balance, that is a place of truly like accepting ourselves and knowing that we can be imperfect, knowing that we can be stressed and, feeling like we're such failures or feeling shitty or everything could be fucked up, and then, but that's just part of being human, and part of being human is about relishing the happiness and relishing the happy things that happen to us, and recognizing that despite all of this negativity that could happen, it's just part of being human. Despite all of this, like I can still be happy. Like you can still be happy despite all this. Like, whatever shit that's going on right now, you deserve to be happy, and you can make yourself happy, and you can create a happiness you want, and the peaks of joy always exist within you. Doesn't matter where you go, doesn't matter if you're in your comfort zone or outside of your comfort zone, that joy is always accessible to you. That joy always exists for you to find. You're always, like whatever happens, you will always have the ability to be happy, to create happiness, to create the exact happiness that you want. Please make a gesture. Yes or no? Come on. Come on, tell me. You don't care? You don't care that I'm using a cat